But that'll happen later, because now with me is the Honourable Esther Passaris, Order of the Grand Warrior, Member of Parliament, the Nairobi Woman Representative, and just a pure, an utter force of nature. Mheshimiwa, karibu.
Thank you very much.
It is such a pleasure to have you here. We're looking forward to this. And before we get right into it, let me understand, what is your job, what is your mandate as the Nairobi Woman Representative?
Okay, so first of all, thank you for having me.
Welcome.
I've had, I kind of took a fast, media fast. So you're the first one in a long time.
I hounded you.
I know.
Mercilessly.
Yeah, but I haven't seen you for long and you're a good soul.
Thank you.
Okay, so woman representative, it's a member of parliament, but a tough one. All women reps go through a tough one. Because when you're a member of a constituency, you only have one constituency. So I'm a member of parliament, but I represent all 17 constituencies, almost like the governor.
Yes.
85 wards. I have an affirmative action fund, which is so little. It's like 1 million shillings per ward per year, 100,000 per ward per month. It's crazy. It's too little, but we try and maximize on it and see how we can help people come out of poverty and empower them. We make laws.
Yes.
We oversight various parastatals. I'm in Public Investment Committee, and I'm also in special funds, which is the tiny funds that we have, like all the little funds that the Parliament has. So we oversight them.
Yes.
And then I used to be in the Health Committee.
Yes.
I'm in a few caucuses. I'm the chair of the Kenya-Israel Friendship Group, the SDG caucus, European Parliamentary Forum, Unite. I got into a lot of chapters, a lot of chairs. So you spread your wings.
Yes.
I've traveled wide and far. I've just come back from Greece because the Greek government has parliamentarians from all over the world that have invited, of Greek descent, were invited to meet the Greek government and understand what Greece is doing. So politics gives you a platform to spread your wings and basically look at the best way you can serve your people. We approve budgets. And of course, another task would be to approve new legislation. So it's legislation oversight.
And people know you now as Nairobi Woman Rep. They know you as an MP. Prior to that, you were in the private sector.
Yes.
You founded Adopt a Light.
Yes.
Were you known before you became Mamata?
Yes, I think my career started in Mombasa.
Yes.
I was the sales and marketing manager for Block Hotels, but I didn't start as a sales and marketing manager. I started as entertainment manager or officer, playing games with the tourists. And then eventually I became a sales and marketing manager. At that time, women were not excelling in the hotel industry.
Yes.
It was limited. It was perceived as a male-dominated job.
Yes.
And then I came to Nairobi. I did marketing. I worked for Africa Air Rescue. I worked for Adventure Promotions, doing promotions. Then I opened my own firm, Sharper Images, where I employed about 100 people, most of them deaf.
You got an award for that, did you not?
Yes, East African Breweries had the Guinness Scout Award for employing deaf people.
Yes.
So that's when I was told I'm a social entrepreneur. And then my next one was Adopt a Light, which got into a lot of trouble. Because
there were
of
some
corruption.
tough times.
Yeah, it was tough, but I'm glad that it's what propelled me to think of how can I get into government? How can I solve this problem that we have of corruption, which is a big elephant in the room?
Yes.
So moving from the private sector to politics has been quite an adventure. It took me 10 years. Starting off with Mayor of Nairobi, Embakasi MP, Woman Rep in 2013, and then in 2017. Persistent space. And I've enjoyed my time serving the people of Nairobi and understanding the needs of the people and balancing between being a mother, being a daughter, and now being a leader.
And what is the biggest challenge? Because I recently had the executive director for FIDA Kenya here, and we're talking about women in positions of leadership. What are some of the biggest barriers you're seeing from there being more of you? More Esther Passaris in positions of leadership and in government and in politics?
Resources. Politics is expensive.
Yes.
Politics is very expensive, and it's the Kenyan population that demands this because it's been a norm. we've got a lot of unemployed youth, and rather than really trying to figure out how to get opportunities to tap into government programs and projects, they would rather just, and even if they get government projects, I mean, I've given quite a few youth government projects that we've done under affirmative action, but they will still wait for me on the roadside for the handout. So it's a culture that I think we need to break.
Yes.
And I thought I'd be spared because I'm a woman. But, you know, they would, as men, they would not want to ask the woman the money. But then they call you mama, mama county. So you're seen as the mother. You have to provide. But I think the biggest problem that we have in this country is we're not managing our population. We're not planning our families.
Yes.
We're having children without knowing how we're going to look after them.
Even a thought as to how we are going to care for this child.
And government can't look after your children. Government can provide platforms for you to excel. You've got to take responsibility for your child. And I think government has to provide commodities and education. There came a time that people thought having children will give you more people, will save your constituency, will give you more people to vote for you, will make your communities or your tribes stronger. We need a Kenya where you have a child because you want a child and you can afford a child. And it's so sad when you have a child that sleeps hungry, a child that cannot go to school. There's a child who killed his father because he wanted to go to Form 1 and the father couldn't afford it. And he killed his father. I mean, that is because of poverty, and it's because maybe this is one of maybe 7 or 8 children. So it's a problem.
It's really important to understand independence. Mheshimiwa Passaris, a pleasure to have you here. And I believe, honestly, isn't the fact that we are such a dependent culture based on us being poor?
I think, first of all, poverty is bred. You know, it's bred by lack of family planning and waiting for handouts as opposed to hard work.
So why are we not planning our families? I said I'm not going to have a child until I finish my master's. Why are people not doing that?
I have no idea. It's first of all culture.
Yes.
That you want the boy.
Yes.
You want a son. Mm-hmm. So you end up with 5 or 6 girls, and then you continue until you get a son. My mother did it. My mother had 4 daughters. She got the son. The 5th one, she stopped. Because there was this thing that you needed to have a son.
Okay, because women can't inherit. Women won't have your name. Women are not all that nonsense.
Exactly. So that was the first thing.
Okay.
I think the second thing is not being educated enough to know that you can have contraceptives.
Yes.
All right. And then the third thing is, of course, the government's failure to ensure that there are commodities everywhere. Civil society has come in, civil bodies have come in to help out partners, NGOs, to help out on family planning, but we're not doing enough.
You've forgotten about religion, because before we get to government, even these are people who are conditioned from childhood to understand that if you're a Christian, you have to not use contraceptives, you have to have many children.
You see, I joined an organization called Catholics for Choice. We're pro-choice, and we also believe in on contraceptives. What's happening is even God believed in contraceptives, because God gave you a period in between your cycle where you can't get pregnant. But then some women are not educated to know when is that period. Men don't want to hear that your wife doesn't want to have sex with you tonight. So at the end of the day, you end up having sex, you end up getting pregnant, and then you're not given the choice. Even Rome, where the Vatican is housed, has legalized abortion. Safe abortion within 12 weeks. Safe abortion, because we have a case of a Kisii girl. She was raped at 13. She got pregnant. Her name was JMM. She ended up at a pharmacy, aborted. It didn't come out properly. She went back. He put some wires in her vagina. Eventually, she got an infection, went to the level 5 hospital. They told the mother, take her to Kenyatta. They put her in a taxi, brought her to Kenyatta. She was in a coma for about 4 years. Then she died. We went to court. And the courts have said that the Constitution of Kenya allows for abortion when the well-being of the mother is at stake. So what is the well-being? It can't be just physical or biological. It's also emotional. It's also financial, economical. So, and it's also social. The stigma of being pregnant with your father. I mean, I've seen 10-year-olds getting fistula because they were forced to have pregnancies and they were defiled. Those 200,000 children that got pregnant during the pandemic, half of them is a known relative or a family member. And we are saying that you have to have this child. Wake up, Kenya. We cannot have 2 wrongs. A woman has the right to make the choice. Imagine when you're a 10-year-old and you're pregnant, you don't even have an NHIF card. You can't even get an NHIF card. You can't even get Linda Mama. I mean, there's so many wrongs. So as a country, we have to stop pretending that we are morally more better than the West.
Exactly.
All the countries in the West, including Ireland legalized abortion. They didn't legalize it because of caring for the woman. They were losing so much money to people going to the UK to have their abortions. So women, we have to stand up and say that if our children are having sex, and they are having sex at an early age, if our children are defiled, we have to fight for them to be allowed to make that choice that doesn't hamper their growth as human beings.
You're in Parliament. You're an MP. What are the steps that are required to make this legal?
It's very difficult because the church is adamant, and then the state listens to the church. We're going to reach a point one day where we accept pro-choice, all right, and stop this craziness of, it's not our culture.
Double standards.
And we're going to also accept LGBTQI because they live with us. They are our children. And then we're also going to accept the fact that we need to plan our families. In the 60s, when Tom Boyer was interviewed with BBC, he was asked, what are you going to do now that you're independent? He goes, we're going to plan our family, our population, based on our resources. Kibaki, who's a staunch Catholic, has also said, you need to plan your families. So we need to actually understand that a woman who doesn't have a job, her husband doesn't have a job, she has 5 children she can't feed, and she's pregnant again. Why?
We are then stuck in a cycle of handouts, in a cycle of poverty, and it's a cycle of poor leadership because somebody who is hungry does not have the time or the onus or the patience to select a leader that they actually think will take them out of that cycle.
Exactly, but leadership doesn't start at Parliament or at the presidency. Leadership starts in your home. You manage your home, then you'll be able to manage the kind of people you want to lead your government so that your home can excel. So managing your home. Everybody has to manage themselves and their lifestyle. Somebody who gets into a car drunk, intoxicated, and then ends up killing himself and killing people on the road. He didn't manage himself.
He did not.
And the family didn't manage them. And a woman who has so many children cannot manage the children. I have a woman who sent me a picture of her baby who's about 4 years old, completely burnt. All right. In Europe, social services would move in and take that child and charge that mother for negligence. She has a duty of care.
Yes, of course.
And she didn't care enough for her child to make sure that that water or that stove was not where the child could access.
Exactly.
So we need to have these laws. I'm hoping to bring a law where we push the alcohol drinking limit from 18 to 21.
Like in the US.
Like in the US. I mean, why do we need to start drinking at 18? Okay, I know some kids are drinking at 15, but let's move the law and then we educate, then we put structures in place to make sure that alcohol is not easily accessible.
I want to take you back to the matter of family planning because when we talk about this thing, it comes across like we're talking about communities and women from a low socioeconomic status or the uneducated. But I'll be honest, amongst my peers, I have friends who are in very unhappy situations, perhaps very unhappy marriages. They stay there because now they have 3 or 4 kids and they know that they cannot maintain their current lifestyle without their partner. So when you're talking about managing your families, even amongst a demographic such as the one I'm in, of upwardly mobile to a certain extent, educated, right? How are women supposed to have those conversations in their homes with their husbands? Because men will tell you, no. Your job is to bear me children.
No, it's not the job of any woman to bear anyone a child. You can get married to a guy and say, I'm not ready to have a child. All right. If he doesn't like it, you can get out of that relationship. All right. At the end of the day, dependency. If you're not independent as a woman, then you depend on that man, then you need to stay in that relationship. And it can be oppressive. There's a woman right now that I'm looking after her son, and I've moved them into a flat because her son had an accident and he's paralyzed. I've taken her other son, who's clever, to a boarding school. Now, here we are. She's the second wife. The husband has another wife. So when she ended up with this child, who's paralyzed, he goes to the other home. So I'm saying that at the end of the day, also, she has 8 children. And then now, when I went to see her recently, her 5 of her children have all had two kids. They were living in abject poverty. And it looked like they were running a nursery school. Why are these children all having children when they cannot afford, because they don't even have jobs? I've sent them to school to study. They haven't got a job yet, but they're getting pregnant.
So what
commodities?
What are the key signs of the dependence in our society? Because we see a lot of people who are asking for handouts. A lot of people are asking for handouts. A lot of people who are unashamedly asking for handouts. Being dependent, maybe still in the home. We are seeing adult children not leaving home. We're seeing adult children not having jobs. We're seeing adult children, bringing their own children back into their parents' home. What are the signs you, as the Nairobi Women Representative, has seen that we are, as a society, dependent? Because we want to move to independence.
I think our government has to be bold enough to actually say to the church that we have a population crisis. We've got so many unemployed youth. We need to talk openly about family planning. And I saw an archbishop, actually, a video that's circulating right now, saying that, you can't just have children. Even the Pope said that when he went to, I think, in Indonesia or somewhere, or Philippines, and they put... they cage all the street families, and he was saying you can't just go giving birth. You have to plan your families. I think what we have to do as government, we have to speak the language and make available the commodities and educate people. It's not that we're trying to stop poor people from having children. No. We're trying to make you understand that children are costly. Government has made you to be able to have a child with Linda Mama free of charge. But when it's a cesarean, you have to pay. If you don't have an NHIF card, you can't get into Linda Mama. If you don't have an ID, you can't get into Linda Mama. So what I think we need to do is we need to actually be bold enough to tell people. I once went and I spoke about it in Westlands at the market. And one of the ladies stood up and she says, "Who's going to vote for you if we don't have children?" And I said, "Listen, you can't condemn yourself to poverty to vote for me."
Exactly.
All right? You can't do that. I don't need you to do that.
At what stage should we start educating the population?
Comprehensive sex education should start in school. But again, the Catholic Church says that when you start talking about comprehensive sex education, you will need to talk about lesbianism, homosexuality, transsexuals, intersex, and that is wrong for our society. Let me tell you something. Whether we talk about it or we don't, they exist amongst us. The community is with us. Gender is not just about male and female. There's so much more about gender. Some of them, transsexuals. I had dinner with a few of them yesterday. I met the community yesterday. And basically, you have to understand that this is who they are, and you cannot change who they are.
Good morning. I'm Olivia Otieno. Why, Mashibo, you're looking at me like I misspelled respect. You're putting me completely off. We're going to be talking business and how you can possibly retire at the age of 40. Can you imagine having retired at the age of 40?
I think it's important. Sometimes I feel sorry when I see people who are really old going on holidays. I think you should take a holiday every year, first of all. You should take a day off every week. You should take about a weekend off every month. And you should take a holiday every year.
Do you know, I once went to see the CEO and I was told, no, Akwanga Thursdays. So,
yeah, it's fantastic. You need me time. For you to be able to give people something, you've got to have something to give. And the only way you get something to give is if you develop it for yourself. So you have to understand who you are. What am I doing? I took some time out. I mean, people were calling me for interviews and I'd say, no, I want a break. I just want to do my work and spend some time with my family,
rejuvenate,
and meditate, do yoga, lose the weight that I've been trying to shed for the last 25 years.
You look fantastic. Stop that.
Yes.
So you've been now in office as an MP for how long?
3 years.
Highlights? What are some of your key achievements?
Okay, the first thing that I think I achieved is when we came into office, about 97 people died. Including baby Pendo and Samantha. And I managed to get the Aga Khan hospital to waive baby Pendo's bill. I managed to raise money initially on my own and then eventually with ODM to make sure that everybody had a burial. I visited all the mortuaries and I saw every dead body leave. In fact, it was such a problem for me because in the end I couldn't cry. I only started crying this year. My tears shut down because I saw so much pain and suffering that my tears just dried. I used to go, it was mechanical, but I'm so proud of the fact that I stood by every family that lost their loved ones. The second thing that I achieved is immediately after we got into office, I once went to Kenyatta and I found quite a number of detained patients. And I went on social media and I said to the president, you don't need a Christmas bash, you don't need fireworks, you need to release all these patients, all these detained patients, and they were all released. And I was opposition, so I was very happy that I did that. And then when I went to Kenyatta University Hospital with the health committee, I found that the hospital had been stalled and not open, and I thought, why would you put such a big investment and not open it? And I really pushed on social media again that the hospital needs to be open, and I'm really proud that I did that. I mean, my own husband was admitted there when he had COVID, and it's a good facility, and I tell Kenyans that they should try and use it. It's amazing. And Dr. Olive Mugenda it was her vision, it was her baby. But it took a long time, I think 8 years or something like that, with them not opening it. So it saved us during this COVID period,
Have you been advocating for people to get the vaccine? Because I've not seen the huge surge saying, enda, kwe vaccinated.
Listen, I mean, even trying to convince my own children that they need to get vaccinated is difficult, because at the moment everybody thinks that there's a conspiracy theory. All right, then there's blood clots, then there's all manner of things. But I've taken my first vaccine. I'm taking my second one in September. All right. I took it late because I was in India, and when I got back at that time, the focus was on medics. All right. So right now I've taken my first one, my first AstraZeneca. I was just tired for a day or two, a bit of headache, and I feel that I'm being responsible. All right. My father's been unwell and my mother's been unwell, so they've not been able to take the vaccine. The doctor wants them to get a bit better. We thought that maybe Pfizer would be here and Johnson & Johnson. So we're, still waiting, but I've taken my first shot, and I encourage everyone to take a shot, because the only way we'll get back to near normalcy is if we're all vaccinated. The tourism industry, I spoke to Najib Balala, almost 1.5 million people have lost their jobs. But if we actually vaccinate everyone, like Seychelles has done, it's a small country, but if we vaccinate everyone, then we will be in a position to ensure that we can actually market our destinations. Greece, I've just come back from Greece. 35 million people go to Greece, and they've opened out for tourism right now. And it's you have to be fully vaccinated to get into the country. They've still got huge numbers. Delta is, of course, ravaging even countries that are fully vaccinated. Even Israel are going on the third shot. COVID is something that we still haven't arrested. The variants are making it difficult, but the vaccine will give you a fighting chance of survival. You will not get the diseases to the point where you end up dead. So, and I've seen a few people who've actually got the vaccine that end up dying and contracting COVID. So the fact is, some people smoke and they get cancer. Some people don't smoke and they get cancer. So at the end of the day, you've just got to take the vaccine, because that's what right now is some have died, some have taken it and contracted, but we need to take the vaccine.
So you're pro having civil servants vaccinated?
Yes. You see, the thing is, because they are a point of contact for every citizen. All right. So they need to do this. And I think if you can't take the vaccine, then you lose your job. Because that's what they're doing. Clear. I mean, even in hotels I was in Rhodes. If you don't take the vaccine, you can't get a job, because you're going to expose the customer. If you want to go to the club in England, you've got to have had a COVID test. All right. Not just a vaccine, but a COVID test to enter the club the same day. Or a rapid test. So this is the new norm. This is a pandemic. All right. So we've got to get serious about life. And then also the protocols are important. Wear your mask. We've got amazing social distance here. Wear your mask, and also sanitize, wash your hands. And
avoid crowds.
Avoid crowds.
You talked about a pandemic. There's another pandemic in this country currently called crime. Extrajudicial killings. What is happening, and how are you sensitizing and making people aware and fighting this?
You see, now we've got the police, and we've got an oversight committee in Parliament for securities, and they've already called in the IG. And I think they're trying to do it. You see, us as parliamentarians, when it comes to the floor of the House, we will support it.
Okay.
But every committee does what it has to do.
Yes.
So it's not a committee that I'm in, but if it comes to the floor of the House, I'll support it. But my heart goes out to the family of the two boys,
Exactly.
who lost their lives, young men with a
Unnecessarily.
promise. And I hope that those policemen are arrested, charged, and sent into jail.
Yes.
That's number one. What happened in Kajiado
Yes.
with those young boys who went to celebrate a party? You should never take the law into your own hands. What they did was wrong. I mean, how do you start knifing and killing people? That is so barbaric.
Yes.
All right. That is not what should happen in a civilized society. If you felt that they were coming to steal your cattle, then you call the police.
Exactly.
The police has to be called. But then maybe if we end up with mob justice,
Yes.
then we are going to lose it. So the police, we need to put more resources into the police. We need to make stations available everywhere. And we need to make people aware that when you take the law into your hands, I really hope
Yes.
that we can make an arrest to everybody in Kajiado that had anything to do with the killing. But I'll tell you one thing, even if they're not going to be arrested, right? Shame on them. God is going to judge them. Okay? Because vengeance eventually is for God. All right?
Yes.
And I really hope that they have trauma and nightmares in their lives for what they did to those young men.
I agree, and I think that the situation has to change and people have to be brought to book with regards to what has happened. But there's another matter that we haven't touched on, and that is gender-based violence. And you, as a woman in the position that you are in, over the years that you have fought to get to where you are at, I am sure you've had your experiences. Now, however, it's something that seems completely rampant, added to the fact that more and more people seem to be owning firearms.
Okay, so gender-based violence, again, why is it happening? Our society needs counseling.
Yes.
And it has to start from the schools, so you understand what is right and what is wrong. What happened in Kajiado right now, all the leaders should be doing door-to-door civic to educate people, and awards should be given to try and arrest the
Yes.
people who did this.
Yes.
All right? So gender-based violence, it's society's meltdown. Society is having a meltdown because society is frustrated, depressed, and not able to meet their life standards
Yes.
or even their basic needs.
Yes.
So it is a wave that unfortunately we're going to have to see the worst before we can see it improve.
Yes.
The pandemic saw an increase in gender-based violence. Nairobi doesn't have a safe house that's operated by government. I have put 50 million shillings out of my fund.
Yes.
So that means 500,000. That means from the million shillings that I have for every ward,
Yes.
I'm putting 500,000 towards a safe house. So we should have a safe house by April in Nairobi. In Runda, we've partnered NMS, Nairobi County, and GAF
Yes.
to put a safe house. We went to benchmark. The drawings have been done. We should be having the tenders by next month and awarding the tender. We want to put a safe house, but with also an economic empowerment unit,
Yes.
so that when you go into the safe house, you're also given some basic skills to go back and stand in your own life. Because imagine when you're emotionally damaged by rape or defilement or
Yes.
sodomy,
Yes.
and it's happening to our children,
Yes.
it is bad. So our churches, instead of telling us not to have abortions when we've been raped and focusing on things that you shouldn't be focusing on,
Yes.
right, and stopping people from living the way they were beautifully created in God's image, they should actually try and talk about morality, all right, the sexual violence. That's where they should focus.
They say that to be part of the LGBTQ, and I'm talking about now the church and the arguments, because I'm just playing an advocate on that end, just for the argument of this, for the sake of this argument, that it is immoral.
No, there's nothing immoral about two people loving each other. The feelings that a gay man has for his gay partner, or a lesbian has for her lesbian partner, or a transsexual for their partner, the feelings that they have are the same feelings that heterosexual couples have.
And this
They
thing has
should
been
be
there since
allowed.
biblical
Love.
times.
Listen, God is love.
Yes.
God is love. Let me tell you what. The Bible has, the reason why Jesus died and told us, I will send you a helper, and the helper is the Holy Spirit,
Yes.
is because man has a tendency of trying to manipulate and abuse and misuse people through written print material. The book of Thomas was removed from the Bible. Okay.
Yes.
There were so many books removed from the Bible. So that Bible, I mean, I've never died and come back to tell you that this is the real Bible. So when Jesus died, he knew that. He knew that men, given the chance to write the literature in the Bible,
Yes.
the Bible is a beautiful book. All right. It has beautiful things.
Yes.
But there are certain things that are misconstrued.
Yes.
All right. So God is love. We're created beautifully in God's image.
Yes.
So if we're created beautifully in God's image and only God can judge us,
Yes.
why am I concerned about why my gay neighbor is having sex with his gay partner? It's not my business.
As an adult.
As an adult.
Yes.
It's not my business. My business is to manage myself and my own wants.
Yes.
And I'll tell you one thing. I mean, recently I went to a school in Nairobi.
Yes.
My maid's child was sent home because she was told that she's a lesbian. I mean, this is so crazy. The school calls this parents, 13 parents to school,
Yes.
and says, by the way, your children are all lesbians, fathers of children as well. Your children are lesbian. I went to see the headmistress,
Yes.
and I said, first of all, you cannot brand them
Yes.
lesbians. You
Yes.
cannot label them.
Yes.
And I'm arranging for counseling for the teachers, counseling for the school, counseling for the parents. Why? They were experimenting. They're not
Okay.
lesbians, all right? They were experimenting because it's a girls' boarding school, just
Yes.
like boys will experiment and do things. So at the end of the day, when you're 18 is when you make a choice of whether I'm a lesbian or whether I'm a homosexual, whether I'm a heterosexual.
Yes.
All right? And if you're born with both organs, whether I want to be man or I want to be female.
Yes.
These are realities of life. I have seen it. And I have gay friends, I have lesbian friends, and I have transsexual friends.
Yes.
And I took them all for dinner last night.
Yes.
And to understand their issues and their
Yes.
problems and their challenges. All right. So for me, I feel we should not judge anyone. Only God can judge. Mind your own business and get on with your own life. Unless they're attacking you, then it's a criminal offense and it's the government's duty. I have a transsexual. I met him 6 years ago. He was a man.
Yes.
Now, she's decided I'm a woman.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And I am happy that she made that decision.
Yes.
And she wants her name changed. And I'm going to take her to the registrar to have her name changed because she wants to be a woman. She is not a man. She's a woman trapped in a man's body. And you know, in Europe, in
Yes.
medical science
Yes.
right now can actually do tests in your brain where they can actually tell which hormone you have more than the other.
Yes.
Which, whether you're male or female. It doesn't matter how you were born. I had a bodyguard who was born with testicles and a vagina
Yes.
here in Kenya. And then the parents decided to remove the testicles. They should never have done that. As she grew up, she realized, I'm not attracted to men. I'm not a girl. I'm
Yes.
attracted to women.
Yes.
So they should never have removed her testicles. So you want to tell me that she doesn't deserve a chance to live, to have corrective surgery,
Yes.
to have hormone
Therapy.
therapy, to love? Come on.
I like it. I see you're very, very passionate about that cause. Before I let you go, Mheshimiwa, what lies ahead for the Honorable Esther Passaris? You're looking now past 2021 into 2022 and beyond.
Well, first of all, we're in a place. What lies ahead is being a driver for peace. This hustler movement, I want the Kenyans who've been told that they're hustlers. I'm going to come out with a message to Kenyans.
Yes.
If you've been told you're a hustler,
Yes.
I want you to actually look at the definition of a hustler. First of all, don't call you are your thoughts. Even God says, in the beginning there was a word and the word was with God.
Yes.
Your tongue, what you say with your tongue,
Yes.
it can curse you and can bless you. So when you're calling yourself a hustler, the
Yes.
first thing about a hustler
Yes.
is that one who obtains money by fraud or deceit. That's the hustler. Okay? Number two, one who lures less skillful players into competing at a gambling game. You're gambling with your lives by supporting the hustler movement and saying it's the rich against the poor.
Yes.
Okay? Because you have to love the rich if you want to be rich.
You have to be around them.
Yes, yes. An athlete who plays with alert energy and aggressiveness. Okay?
Yes.
A hustler is a male prostitute. Haki, munaenda huko munasema mimi ni hustler.
Okay.
Surely, are you all those things? No. Call yourself something good. This is what I want to tell my Kenyan youth.
Yes.
Your government has a lot of programs. Get into those programs. Get into YouTube. Look, I just went to do my makeup because you told me I'm coming to TV for the first time. I went and did my makeup.
Yes.
I met a beautiful lady called Faith.
Yes.
She pursued me for almost 3-4 months.
Yes.
She called me this week and I said, Faith, I'm going for a TV interview. I'll give you a chance to do my makeup. I went to Yala Towers. Faith has her makeup tower
Yes.
company.
Yes.
Faith learned from YouTube.
I
She took a
understand.
loan of 1.2 million from her father. She set up her makeup shop.
Yes.
She's paid her 1.2 million in 7 months.
Yes.
She's running a business.
Yes.
She doesn't want to be called a hustler. She's a hard-working Kenyan who found what she likes. Find your passion. Put effort in behind it. Every single day, get closer to your passion.
Yes.
Whether it's selling potatoes, whether it is growing potatoes. I mean, you have to find your niche.
Exactly.
You have to find what it is you were born for. And let me tell you, God had a plan and a purpose for you before you were born. That plan and a purpose, align yourself with God. Don't align yourself with hate for somebody who's made it bigger than you. This is crazy.
You've talked about government
of division
programs.
Is not going to help this country.
You've talked about government programs. Where can the youth find information on these programs?
Let me tell you, they're all over. Whenever we conduct civic education, it's there. Let me tell you, when you're looking for something, even through prayer, you will find it. Sit down, write down all the things you want to do. And I'll tell you one thing, God will show you the way. God, that Faith lady wanted to do my makeup.
Yes.
She called me this week, 2 days before I came here. And she said, Esther, I want to do your makeup for free.
Wow.
Not even you pay me. All right. So let me tell you, because she had an intention, what you desire, Jesus said, what you desire, what you ask, what you need, ask and you will find.
Are you gonna run?
Seek.
Are you gonna run?
Am I gonna run? It's all in God's hands.
Yes.
I want to lead the people. I want to serve the people.
Yes.
Right? But I also want to get back into empowering us economically.
Yes.
Watch out for my programs that are going to come out, because I feel we can haba na haba ujaza kibaba. I want to pull us together to do some good together, because my dream for Kenyans is every Kenyan to own a house, not a wheelbarrow.
Thank you, and have a fantastic Saturday.
Thank you very much.